Good evening. I'm Caroline Shoenberger, and I want to welcome you to Immigration Issues. And I want to welcome our guest, Mr. Michael Collins from Irish Community Services. Welcome this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it. And congrats on the new foundation.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to just talk for a moment or two about the new foundation. So the Shoenberger Public Interest Law Foundation was established to assist people who have immigration issues, guardianship issues, and at the moment, we are offering free presentations, mini consultations to other not-for-profits, to churches, synagogues, mosques who are running workshops, also to other educational institutions. We're offering free workshops and mini consultations in connection with, again, these top areas of immigration guardianship. So if you are interested in asking for the services of the new foundation, to please email me at Caroline at foundation.org. Schoenbergerfoundation.org. It's so new that I don't even remember everything.
It's always tough to remember those things.
Okay, so I will have something that made up so that'll be easier in the future, but again, Caroline at Schoenbergerfoundation.org. So if you're interested in having a workshop, anything, please let me know, and I will add services to it as we go along. Again, this is brand new. So we are here tonight with Michael Collins, and Michael's from Irish Community Services. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about Irish Community Services?
Sure. So Irish Community Services is a 501c3 not-for-profit immigration and social services provider. We were formed in 1998, and since then we have grown to expand our programming to include what we're calling a memory enrichment program, which focuses on folks with mild memory impairments. We would kind of do brain games with them, walk folks through some of the common symptoms, and really an opportunity for folks who are going through some memory loss to socialize with others that are going through the same issues. On top of that, we regularly run a senior group. We have recently taken on, which is about a year old now. I keep saying recently, but it's been a while. But we have a community play group, which is another opportunity for members of the community, both their caregivers and the young people, to have a common place to socialize. There's structured play, there's arts and crafts, all that type of thing. But the program that I would mostly run, and that Caroline has partnered with us on numerous times, is our immigration program. So our immigration program is one of the reasons our organization was founded. We conduct regular legal clinics, which are by appointment only. You would come in, speak to an attorney. Sometimes it'll be Caroline. Sometimes it would be a representative from the McEntee Law Group for a free 30-minute consultation. And we cover in those clinics a wide range of immigration issues. And then more recently, ICS, which stands for Irish Community Services, was granted. We are now part of the New Americans Initiative, which is through the Illinois Department of Human Services. And the New Americans Initiative is a program to encourage residents of Illinois to apply for U.S. citizenship. So we have, we're in the big push now at this time of year to get folks registered for, to apply for citizenship, those who are eligible, because, a lot of folks are motivated to become U.S. citizens by virtue of the fact that they will now be able to vote in the next election.
So we really, really want people
exactly
to become United States citizens. Can I ask you a question? Just
sure.
The children's program is like a play group.
Yes.
Okay, so a play group, and then you have the seniors with the memory. So you have a lot of services.
Yep.
But we're going to focus tonight on the New Americans Initiative, which is run through ICIRR, which stands for?
The Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
And they've been running a program like this for about 15 years.
Yeah, so it's you'd probably know a little bit better than I, but I know that the New Americans Initiative has been in existence for a while, but there were two new grantees this last round of applications, with ICS being one of them, which is great news for our organization and hopefully our community too, because we'll get a lot more folks in our community to become U.S. citizens.
And the other group was the Polish American Association?
Yes, I believe the Polish American Association have actually been involved since the very beginning. So yeah, but there's loads of the ICIRR has a broad membership, I believe, of over 150 organizations, many of which would also be would be part of the New Americans Initiative,
Including the Shoenberger Public Interest Law Foundation is a member of ICIRR.
Yeah.
In any event, so the citizenship, I've heard being a lawful permanent resident is likened to like being on permanent probation.
Yes.
And we both know of cases where someone does something stupid
Yep.
and they're being subject to being deported.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens more often than you would think, and oftentimes when that happens, that individual may have been past their time period where they could have already become a U.S. citizen, which is another reason we really encourage folks who are eligible to apply sooner than later, as Caroline says, to get off that probation, that most folks on green cards are permanently on.
So let's talk about, there are two citizenship workshops that are scheduled.
Yep.
And one of them, I'm going to pull up
Sure.
so October 12th from 10 to 2 and November 23rd so where is this going to take place?
So both of them are going to take place in the Irish American Heritage Center, which is also where ICS is based. We're based on the third floor of the Irish American Heritage Center. The workshops will take place in room 306, and as you can see down there at the bottom, we are partnering with the Chicago Legal Clinic, the Caroline, the Shoenberger Public Interest Foundation. I still need to get used to that as well, and the Polish American Association. But I do want to emphasize, although the Irish Community Services and the Polish Americans and the Chicago Legal Clinic are the host organizations for this workshop, everyone is welcome. We will have folks who do speak both Spanish and I believe French.
French, absolutely.
So if you're not Irish, Polish, or a client of the CLC, you are still more than welcome to attend. Registration is encouraged, but it's not required. Our contact details are there on the form, which is displayed on your screen. So I would encourage everybody to call our office, because then we can at least give you a good time to come that might be a little bit less busy, that we can streamline the process.
So let's go over, because the citizenship process is so much more complicated now, and it's taking at least a year, even if between the time that you apply and you actually get your interview. But
Yeah.
let's go over, because I want to focus in on a couple of things and why we want them.
Sure. Yeah, no, I checked last week. It's citizenship applications, and this is why I emphasized timing at the beginning. Citizenship applications are taking between 8 to 20 months. And I checked that, I believe, of Monday of this week. So again, if voting in the next election, which is November of 2020, is a motivation of yours for becoming a U.S. citizen, we strongly encourage you to attend the October 12th workshop. Because at that stage you'll have the best opportunity to be sworn in before the November election.
So shall I keep this up, or?
Sure, yeah, it's whichever you prefer.
So, as the flyer indicates, we want your resident card, social security number,
Yep.
passport, and an ID. So
Yes.
it could be a license, it can be a state ID, it should be a government ID from Illinois or the United States. And mind you, if you're from Wisconsin, you can still come to the workshop.
Yep, absolutely.
Or Indiana,
Yep.
any place. You need to have a list of dates where you are outside the U.S. You need to list what countries and the dates. Usually there are stamps in your passport, but they want this information going back 5 years. They want a list of where you lived and worked. And when we say 5 years, we're not just talking about 2010 to 2015. They want the day, the date, do the best that you can to remember. Also, taxes. And that's become a very big issue because some countries, you can actually, I think if you're from Mexico or Canada, and you are supporting more than 50% of the living expenses of a family member in those countries, you could actually claim them as dependents.
Right.
Unfortunately, there are people who are advising lawful permanent residents and others to invent dependents. So they want to look at your taxes. If you are separated, you can file as head of household, but if you're married and living together, you can't. They want to know about your spouse, the dates of birth, all of the children, the status of your spouse and the children, stepchildren too. I want to focus in on arrests, and with that, again, this is on the website of Irish
Community Services. Yep.
www.irishchicago.org.
Yep.
I want to focus in, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to focus in on arrests because there have been some complications. Arrests is when you are taken to a police station. Even if you are not charged, immigration or some of the officers are now considering that to be an arrest. And it is not enough to bring in a court record. You need to bring in, if you were charged, I would get a police letter, and if it shows that you were brought in, I would get all of the documents connected with that. We recently had at the Chicago Legal Clinic a client who wasn't arrested but was brought into the station because he was driving without a license before he became a lawful permanent resident, and they want all of the documents. They consider that to be an arrest. So again, legally, if your freedom is curtailed, that is an arrest. So anyone at all, if you get a court record, they may not show that, they probably won't show it, and they will not show if you received a sentence of supervision. So that is where the police letter is important, because that will show all arrests and whether the case was SOL, stricken off the list of cases for the state's attorney's office, dismissed, or if there was a sentence of supervision. Under Illinois law, supervision is not a conviction, but under immigration law, which is federal, and Michael, there's a explanation somewhere for this, but under federal immigration law, supervision is a conviction. A lot of my clients would say, but I did everything they want to know, and that is a requirement. Occasionally, someone will go to have arrests expunged, or if there was a finding of guilty, the record sealed, and you have to literally, if you want to become a citizen, go to court, unseal the records, get certified copies, and then seal it again, which makes lawyers very happy because they get to charge for that. So if you're going to have your records sealed or expunged, make sure that you get certified copies of all court documents, because if you want to become a citizen in the future, they will be necessary. So it's very important that you also tell whoever you are talking to if you have been arrested. We've all done things that probably we shouldn't have done, and yes, it's embarrassing to tell someone, but you've handled cases, I'm sure, where someone did something stupid and they're going to end up having to leave the country because of it.
Yeah. I mean, as Caroline said, a lot of people have some things in their history which might be magnified for immigration purposes, but we do encourage you, even if it's not for the purposes of citizenship, to contact either our office or the Shoenberger Public Interest Law Foundation to get an assessment of what that means for your immigration, for your own immigration case, whether that concerns citizenship or other benefits that you might be seeking.
Well, again, there are certain types of convictions that if you're convicted, may not get you deported, but may find that you lack good moral character, and right in there is if you try to hide something. So if you're not forthcoming about something, and yes, everyone may make a mistake, but if you go in and you pretend that something never happened, they will know about it. And then you will be denied, and you will not be able to apply for 5 years because, quote, you lack good moral character. So again, in the event you have issues, it's very, very important that you work this out before the application. It would be helpful to do this before the workshop, but at least at the workshop, bring all of the documents. I know that it's, unpleasant to talk to people and admit that you did something stupid, but in this case. The other thing that you need to do is if you have not registered for the Selective Service and you were between the ages of 18 and 26, you need to do so. Otherwise, they will submit a letter you will submit a letter saying you weren't aware of it. Some jurisdictions, that's not enough. Up until this point, it's okay in Illinois, but again, if you're between 18 and 26, go on the Selective Service website. You can find it easily on the web and register. And bring proof. And also bring a money order for $725 made out to U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
So again, so the workshop is going to be at Irish Community Services on the third floor of the Irish Heritage.
Yep.
And basically, we're going to handle the workshop by having someone make an assessment.
Yeah. So that brings me back. That's a good point. We'll talk about the structure of the workshop. So when you first arrive, somebody will walk through through an intake process, which will assess your eligibility, and to be eligible to apply for citizenship, if you obtained your green card through a marriage, you would need to have been a permanent resident for 3 years before you're eligible to apply. If you obtained your green card through other means, you would need to have been a legal permanent resident for 5 years.
If I can just point out that if you're married to a U.S. citizen and live with a citizen for 3 years, then you can apply in 3 years. Otherwise, if it's a lawful permanent resident who petitioned for you, then you have to wait 5 years.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
good clarification, yep. And then at the workshop, we would run through the documentation that we've just walked through, make sure that you have everything you need. There will be somebody there to help you fill out the N-400, which is the application for citizenship, and then finally there will be an attorney review at the end of the workshop.
So why do we tell people don't try to do it yourself?
I always encourage folks to use legal representation or at least legal guidance when filing immigration paperwork. The reason I do that, different folks have different reasons. The reason I do that is because if there's a mistake, we said at the beginning of the show, these applications are taken between 8 to 20 months. So if there's a minor mistake on your application, that can delay your swearing in a significant amount of time. If there is a larger mistake pertaining to undisclosed information, as Caroline had discussed, pertaining to an arrest, that can actually put you in a dangerous position for your current status as a green card holder, depending on the circumstances. So we always encourage folks to get a full assessment by an attorney. You don't always necessarily need to use an attorney to file your case, but it's always good to get a legal assessment of your case before you file.
And the Polish American Association also does a lot of work. They have accredited lay representatives, and just like I would tell someone, they would tell someone, please do not file. You have a felony on your record. If you file, you are most likely going to be deported.
Yeah.
So again, we're very upfront with our clients. It's painful to tell someone that.
Yeah.
But the alternative is worse.
Right.
So getting an assessment. So the application then at some point is filed. You're called in to get fingerprints, and then you have an interview.
Yeah.
Down at the immigration office on the third floor, where you have to pass probably one of the toughest security, where at one point they wanted me to take my bracelets off, and that I've never been asked that in going through security any place in the world. In any event, at the interview, they will go through, first you will have a test, and you will have to answer out of 10 questions that they choose at random, 6 must be correct, and all of the questions are on the website for USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, uscis.gov/citizenship, so you have to study. They will ask you in English, and most people have to take if you have not been here as a lawful permanent resident for 15 years or 55 or older, or been a lawful permanent resident for 20 years, you will have to take the test in English.
Yep.
And there are certain, if you're older, there are certain exemptions, but most of you are going to have to speak English. So you have to answer, you have to write, you have to read. Once you pass the test, and if you don't pass the test, you will get another interview where you can go and do it again. After the second time, you're going to have to reapply, which means another $725. So you want to avoid that. So you need to study. And then they will go over every single question on your application. And people think they may not know that you were arrested for something in New Mexico, or they think you were arrested. Be prepared. Again, they know information, and there's no hiding it. So it's critically important that you go to a trustworthy organization that's going to, number one, do an assessment. And in the assessment, if they give you the go-ahead, again, you still have to make sure that you know English and that you can answer those questions. In some of the workshops, again, English for someone from Ireland, I don't think is going to be much of a...
Yeah. Most folks are native English speakers, yeah.
Yeah, but although there are different words occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm learning that to table does not mean to put it off to the side, right? It means we're going to hear it right now. So if you table something, so that there are differences.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem, though, in a...
No, and certainly not with the civics questions that are required for the, for the test part of your citizenship application.
But if you have, if you don't speak a language of English, again, you're going to have to learn. The Polish American Association offers ESL classes, and ESL classes are offered at city colleges. Truman College offers free citizenship class, free English classes. And again, your English is going to, I think my English would be tested because I know I still speak with an accent. In any event, and then once they collect the information, it may be months before you get the official word that you passed and come on in for the swearing in. Have you ever attended a swearing in?
I've not, unfortunately, no.
Oh.
No, I've helped register for folks to vote after a swearing in, which is a good experience, but I've never attended a swearing in itself, no.
Well, it's very moving.
Yeah.
And I've attended them, and everyone gets very moved, and they want their pictures taken with a flag. Secretary of State Jesse White just had a huge swearing-in ceremony, Constitution Day in Daly Center, and it was very, very moving. Any last words while we wrap up?
Sure. I mean, I'll just make one more plug. I know we spoke a little bit about folks who are thinking about applying for citizenship but might have either an arrest or a criminal conviction in their past. We would encourage you, if that is the case, and if you're not ready to apply for citizenship at our October 12th workshop, to call our office and make an appointment for one of our legal clinics, because then you'd be able to speak with, as I said, Caroline or another attorney and get that full legal assessment to see if you are in fact ready to proceed with citizenship down the road.
But you want all of the documents. You want the police reports, because depending on who the officer is, they want everything. And the worst thing is waiting all that time and then being told, we want more evidence, you have to come back.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for coming on the inaugural show for the Shoenberger
thank you very
Public Interest
much.
Law Foundation.
It's an honor.
Well, thank you very much. And we will see you the first Wednesday in November.
Yes.
So we will come, and we hope to see you at the workshop at Irish Community Services on preferably October 12th.
Yep.
But if you miss that, November 23rd, 10 to 2 p.m. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.